Hello and welcome to the Phoenix 5-0 Info Show. I'm your host, Lieutenant Vince Lewis, with the Public Affairs Bureau of the Phoenix Police Department, coming to you once again from police headquarters, beautiful downtown Phoenix, 7th Avenue in Washington. PIO Sergeant Rob Scherer, co-host extraordinaire, with us again.
Extraordinaire.
Yeah,
Well,
we added that.
I've graduated.
It's going in your notes.
Yes, very good.
Want to introduce our guest today, Detective Sabrina Taylor.
Thank you.
From the Continuous Improvement Unit
Yes.
of our Organizational Integrity Bureau.
Yes. You got it right.
But you and I go back through patrol the years and years because we've been involved in the crisis intervention training program. Crisis intervention is a huge part of what we do day in and day out. And the model, of course, is the history of CIT always goes back to the Memphis model.
Mm-hmm.
And the philosophy behind that is to bring training to the field and empower first responders, basically educate first responders to look at things differently when they arrive, and there might be a subject who might be experiencing something in their life that's not necessarily a normal everyday situation. And I use the term normal loosely because we know, how unique everybody's situation is. But give us a brief overview of the CIT program before we talk about what we're going to let everybody know about.
So we know that law enforcement is going to be involved in issues where people are in crisis whenever it gets a little dangerous. So we have a great system here in Maricopa County where people can reach out to the mental health system directly if they need to. But when things get a little bit more risky, they're going to rely on police. So we need to make sure that the officers that respond have the tools to respond to those situations. And most importantly, as soon as it's safe, a way to smoothly divert people back into the more appropriate mental health system. So the crisis intervention team model, it's a whole community-wide model that one component of it is law enforcement. And so we make sure that we have partners that will smoothly transition as rapidly as possible so that we can get police in to make sure things are safe and get them out as soon as possible.
So safety is the number one priority.
Yes.
Safety for everybody. That includes the people that we're contacting or whatever situation they might be in. So when they're in crisis and they call, police officers are typically the ones that can deal with emergencies right now. But sometimes the reasons behind those emergencies involves other issues, somebody in crisis.
Right. And tend to be like long-standing, long-building issues that require a bunch of social supports that we're not really geared to provide, but we do have partners that are very good at providing those services.
So Sabrina, when you started this career, obviously this is a passion of yours now, and it's built throughout your career. What have you seen the biggest evolution? Because I think for us and all of us in law enforcement, through our career in the last couple of decades, this is kind of one of those things that's really evolved, and it continuously evolves. And it would have been awesome back in the day when we first hit the street to have some of these different elements and some of this knowledge that we have now. But what do you see as kind of the best evolution that this department's done and some things we can do in the future?
Oh, 911 diversion is by far the biggest thing we've done, and it coincided with the national rollout of 988. So instead of a 10-digit number for a suicide-only hotline, we now have a 3-digit number for a crisis hotline. So it's no longer like the suicide prevention lifeline. It is a national crisis lifeline. And everybody in the United States has access to that 3-digit help. And every 911 center is starting to look at how do we re-educate the public? Like, we spent a lot of years teaching people how to call 911 when they were in trouble. And so, of course, now, like, not everybody knows about 988, but we're uniquely positioned to teach them. So if you call 911, you obviously don't necessarily need police or fire services, and maybe you don't need, like, rapid mental health support, like, and you could talk to somebody on a phone line, like, we could transfer you and we could tell you, like, there's this new number, it's 988, I'm going to transfer you over there, I think they can help you. And what we've seen is our dispatchers diverted 800 calls last month straight to 988. It's usually like anywhere from 500 to 600 calls a month that we transfer over there. And what our partners at 988 have been noticing is people will then self-divert. They'll they've been educated as to who this new service is. They've talked to them, it worked well. So when they need them in the future, they call them directly. And so that's been the biggest development nationwide. And here in Phoenix, we were fortunate enough to roll it out before 9/8 went live. So we rolled it out in like 2019.
So you and I were talking before the show about the National Police Foundation study that came out in 2019. That we took a hard look at some of our crisis or our critical incidents, and one of the recommendations that came through that dealt with those folks who are experiencing behavioral and mental health issues. Talk a little bit about what we've learned and where we're at following those recommendations.
Those recommendations were unique because we started taking a look at our program pre-COVID. And there had been national momentum building, and not a whole lot of studies on this, but like after World War II, when we had veterans returning with PTSD, there was a softening in mental health stigma and an effort to make some headway in psychology. And we had a lot of advances then. And so similar, we had veterans responding from OEF, OIF with PTSD and traumatic brain injury. And again, a softening of stigma. And you saw a lot of national attention kind of asking questions about mental health. And so that the NPF report was sort of well-timed. But then when COVID happened and everybody in the entire world got familiar with mental illness, and then we had another civil rights movement, things really got cooking, we already had some irons in the fire in response to that report. So we were able to just keep rolling.
So basically it was recognizing that once the scene is safe, officers can look deeper into the situation. Now, we're not training officers to diagnose or to treat or to intervene or even cure this person's situation in crisis, correct?
Correct.
What is it the officers do?
So when they have time, so one of the first things is you can't use what we classically think of as de-escalation, like your verbal negotiation type skills, if somebody is running away or actively assaulting you. So in those situations, we still have to be cops. But if there's time, and usually that could be like we're far enough away, or somebody is communicating. So like if we have time and space to use those de-escalation skills, then all of our officers are trained in basic mental health, first aid, and then, de-escalation skills. And then we have officers with a passion for this that we call our CIT certified officers, who have a little bit more training in all of the resources and, a little more familiarity with mental health symptoms and terms, who can really try to spend a lot more time listening and try to connect that person to ongoing services.
Yeah, honestly a powerful transition for our department, because I'll be honest, we don't really love change. We like things the same all the time, every day of our life. But this change is really, it's opened a lot of our eyes to a lot of things that we may have encountered previously that, man, if we would have had this at that point, really would have helped out. Let's talk smart notifications. Explain what that is and how that kind of works into this fold in this whole puzzle.
So when officers arrive, sometimes they don't have a lot of information, and they're, trying to catch up. Smart notifications is a way to give an alert up front. So if you are a caregiver of somebody with a mental health condition, and you want to let police know ahead of time, you can go to the City of Phoenix's website and enter any information that you want. We've set up the forms that should have like some prompts as to things that we're looking for. Like you can upload a photo, which is really helpful, so officers can, as they're arriving, see the person, recognize the person visually. We'll have a photo if that person goes missing. We'll have some like demographic information, and there's some check boxes for symptoms, but there's some text boxes, so you can write whatever you want. Maybe it's a physical, not a mental illness that you need us to be aware of. Maybe it's actually a pet. feel free to use the form however you want to. It will go right to me and my coworkers, and then we can. That information will live on a SharePoint file that officers can look at, but an alert will be tied to whatever address you give us. It just happens to be the way that our dispatch system works. We dispatch officers to an address. So when that address is entered by 911, the alert will come up letting officers know that there's a smart notification, and then they can go look at it. But they can search that list. Like if they are out with somebody and they're lost, maybe non-communicative, they have an ID, officers can look through by name, find the person, and read whatever it was that you wanted us to know. And so it's completely voluntary. If you don't want the government to have your information, that's okay. But if you do, you can provide as much or as little information as possible. We will go out and verify that the information is correct, so that somebody's not, making something up on their neighbor. Right. And if you want to fill one out for yourself, that's fine too. But that's what the notification is in a nutshell.
All right, so that's smart notifications right from the subject matter expert, Detective Sabrina Taylor from our Crisis Intervention team, the Continuous Improvement Unit within the Organizational Integrity Bureau.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, well, no, so we wanted to let everybody know about smart notifications, and you can visit the City of Phoenix, phoenix.gov/police, and that you should be able to find the prompts. So we just did a retool of the entire site, so it's there.
Yes.
Or you can Google smart notifications.
Yep, it is the first thing that comes up.
All right, perfect, and it's completely voluntary.
Yes.
All right, so that's excellent to know. So I want to thank you, Detective Sabrina, for coming on the show and talking about smart notifications. The information is available on our website at phoenix.gov/police. Thank you, Rob, co-host.
Yep.
Thank the crew for producing. Thank you, the viewer and listener. Catch the video versions of this show on our YouTube channel. I want to remind everybody that you too can help solve crime in your community by sending tips to Silent Witness. Visit silentwitness.org and call 480-WITNESS. Join us and follow us on all social media platforms. We are hiring. Go to joinphxpd.com. And remember, we're all in this together.